Hi everyone, my name is Annie Shin and I'm a software engineer based in the San Francisco Docker office, and this is my first time in Europe, so I feel very lucky to be experiencing this DockerCon experience with you all. I hope you enjoyed your morning and had a good time at the keynote. Continue on with the excitement from the keynote. We have great speakers lined up today for today's Transform track. And our first speaker is Alice Goldfuss. She's a site reliability engineer at GitHub, and I will hand off the stage to her so that she can continue on with her talk.
Thank you. Oh, is this on? Yes. Oh, hello, Copenhagen. I am so excited to be here. I have never been to Europe before, so I actually started about 2 weeks ago. I landed in London, which, all right, debatable if that's actually Europe, but they don't want to be anymore, right? So I took trains and all sorts of trains, and I even took a boat to get here. Like, the train went onto a boat, and then the boat brought the train here, and the train went out. Basically, any mode of transportation that could easily turn into a murder mystery, I took to get here. And it's all foggy outside, so thank you so much for enabling my spooky vacation. Rockstars, builders, and janitors, you're doing it wrong. If you want to complain at me in real time, my Twitter is up there at Alice Goldfuss. I don't recommend following that account because it can be a bit of an adventure, but if you do want to tell me how wrong I am during this talk, that's where it goes. So I want to start off with a 3-part question, and I'll let you digest it there for a moment. I want to know by a show of hands, in the past 3 months, what did you mainly do for your job? The thing you got paid to do. So in the past 3 months, did you mainly build new features, new systems, new code bases? Raise your hand. Okay, all right, awesome. In the past 3 months, did you mainly scale already existing systems or harden them or make them more performant? Show of hands. All right, less of you. And in the past 3 months, did you mainly clean up existing systems, patch them, write documentation? Yes, over here is my people, right there. Well, congratulations. You're all part of the problem. But don't worry, we're going to get through this together. Speaking of getting through it together, I'm Alice, just a garden variety goth. I am a site reliability engineer at GitHub, which means that I'm a professional warrior with pseudo access. And in this talk, we're going to talk about these roles. What is a rockstar, a builder, and a janitor? We're going to examine the current environment of tech. What are people actually working on? What do they want to be working on instead? And we're going to discuss a better way of doing things and balancing these different roles. So let's jump right into it with the roles. What is a rock star? Now, rock star can mean something bad in tech. It can mean a very toxic person who thinks that they're just the bee's knees and is just like completely out of control. That's not what this rock star is, but they can become that kind of rock star if left unchecked. But the rock star is your idea person. They're your innovator. The rock star is the person that shows up on Monday and says, "Oh my God, look at this cool thing that I just saw on Hacker News. I already rolled it out on our AWS account. It's awesome. Just check it out." And we love rock stars. We need them to make our companies run. They are curious and open-minded. They're always iterating fast. They're always looking for the new thing. And because they're always looking for the new thing, that means they're always improving on the thing they already deployed. Always with the new things, always with the new ideas with rock stars. Love rock stars. But because rock stars are always looking at new things, that means that they get bored very easily. And they have no patience for maintenance tasks or long-term use. You may have this conversation with a rock star where you come up with and you say, hey, you know that thing that you shipped out like 2 weeks ago? It's like not great. And the rock star is like, "Oh, don't worry. I made a new thing. Just roll that out instead. It's perfect." And you're like, well, but like 50,000 users are using that. And the rock star is like, "What? Why? It's shit. Use this new thing I made instead. This is the thing they should be using. Just don't worry about it." And so you can't have a team of only rock stars. So then we also have builders. And builders are what take that spark that the Rockstar brings to the meeting and stokes it into a lovely warm fire that everyone can warm themselves against. They are your thinkers. They are looking down the paths, and they are the great people to have in meetings because they're always understanding impact and what ifs and scale and performance. And they're the ones planning and taking what the Rockstar brought and making it better and wider. But since builders are always looking into the future and always thinking about what ifs, that means they are your resident doomsayers. Builder's the person in the meeting going, okay, so like, what if something breaks and our monitoring system also breaks, and the second monitoring system that I put into place, even though you said that was silly, also breaks, and we don't have a third one. And so no one catches the break, and everything fails, and we can't ship. We just can't. Just lock it out, just shut it down. We can't get it out. They are that stop energy. If you had a room of only builders making something, you would peek in, and you'd see this whiteboard with something beautiful and pure, and it would never leave that room. It would never ship because they're so concerned with making it perfect. And so you can't have a team of only builders. And last but not least, we have the janitors. Now people say to me, they say, I don't know, Alice, janitor is kind of like a negative term. What about custodian or steward? Well, custodian and steward denote a level of ownership and control. And the people doing janitor work, they don't feel like they have any control. And so we call them janitors. But let me tell you something. Without janitors, you wouldn't even have a company anymore because they're the ones keeping it running when you're not even sure they are. They're the ones getting paged in the middle of the night and patching things. And because they lack so little visibility, they have to do so much with so very little. But they understand the weaknesses of your system. They understand it so well. They're the one putting on the Band-Aids. They understand, if this is failing, then this is going to be impacted and this is going to fail. So we need to put a Band-Aid right there, and then it will be great. But since janitors are always doing these small, manual, thankless tasks, they get down in the weeds, and they're always doing it manually. They can't see the bigger picture. The janitor's the person that gets paged at 3 a.m. and goes, okay, let's just SSH into the server and tweak that config and disable Puppet, and then we're done. Which, no one here has ever done. But I hear it happens at other places. And it's the janitors doing that kind of work. And so that means they're very resistant to change, which makes perfect sense. Because whenever something changes in the system, it breaks and they have to fix it. I wouldn't want to do that either. So you can't have a team of only janitors. But we have this sort of ecosystem built up, where rock stars have the most visibility, followed by builders, followed by janitors. It's sort of like a parade, where the rock star is on the float waving, and the builder is in the float operating it, and then the janitor is behind cleaning up. And we're just sort of all fine with this. The most visibility is at the top, and yet, there is a disproportionate amount of thankless work. And again, we're all just fine with it. It's like a social contract we signed in our sleep. Like we got nudged and we were just like, janitors will just always have shit lives. Just fine. Like that's what we were fine with. We were just fine with this. And people just end up in these roles sort of organically. People just become janitors and then that's their lot in life. And they come in and they sit down and they go, all right, I guess this is it. And it's very organic and it's very unaddressed. And you might think, what? Isn't organic good? The television tells me organic is good. Alice, you're from Portland. Aren't you a hipster? Isn't it all about the kale salads and the organic foods? Don't you like organic things? Well, in this one case, I'm on the side of the GMOs, which stands for greater mobility, okay? Obviously. Because when you get people in these organic roles, these pigeonholed roles, two things happen. They get stuck. That is just the thing they do. Shauna's a network engineer. Shauna's been a network engineer for 20 years. And maybe 20 years ago, Shauna thought networking was cool. Or maybe there was a void on her team and Shauna filled it. But now, 20 years later, Shauna doesn't want to be a network engineer anymore. But everyone on the team goes, oh, a network thing? Give it to Shauna. I don't want to deal with it. Like, that's how it happens. And that is Shauna's life, and Shauna doesn't like it anymore. But Shauna can't move. She's stuck. And the other thing that happens is that people get tunnel vision. When they only have to care about their role and their slice of the pie, they build up these little kingdoms with these walls. And they go, look, I don't care about you or you. Just don't throw garbage into my section of things and everything's fine. I only care about networking, so I don't care about code and I don't care about the deployment process. Just keep that shit away from me. I just want to be here. And which means that everyone is impacted and nothing works in harmony and everything is just bad. And that's where we get those silos from. It's because people are forced to only care about their slice of the kingdom. So, I want to talk about the current state of tech. Because I was writing this talk and I was like, all right, I think I know what's going on here. I think I know about the Rockstars and the builders and the janitors, but God, what if I'm wrong? I mean, like in middle school, I bought a coat that was just like alligator skin, and I was wrong about that. So maybe I'm wrong about this too. So let's take it to Twitter. So I did. I took it to Twitter and I said, hey, please fill out this survey for my talk. And I asked people questions similar to what I asked you at the beginning of this talk, like what kind of work are you doing? The kind of work you actually want to be doing? What's your happiness level? That sort of a thing. I got 117 responses, which I know is not statistically significant, but there were some very interesting things in there that I wanted to discuss with you anyway. So in the survey, 47.9% of respondents said that they were currently doing Rockstar work. They were currently building new features and new systems and new practices. And I was like, wow, that's really high. I was not expecting that at all, but all right, right on. 48% of you were doing Rockstar work. Okay, cool. And 55% of you want to be doing Rockstar work. Again, not bad. 48% are doing it, 55% want to be doing it. That's a small enough gap that I feel like we can beat that. That doesn't seem too bad to me. 19.7% of you are currently doing builder work. Only 20% of us are actually hardening things and making them more performant and making them more scalable. But 35% of us want to be doing that work. So 35% of us are sitting in meetings going, what the heck? Can we make this better, please? But only 20% of us are actually getting to do that work. And 32%, going on 33% of us are doing that janitor work. We're getting paged, and we're finally writing documentation, so the next time we get paged, because it's only going to be us getting paged, we can fix it even faster, so we can go back to bed and get paged for new things. 32% of us are doing that. And perhaps not surprisingly, only 9.5% of us want to be doing that. So I also asked, as part of this survey, people's titles, how they self-identified. And I want to get to that in just a second, but just to recap, we have our current state here. 48% of us are doing Rockstar work, only 20% are doing builder work, and 32% are doing janitor work. And what we want is that 55% of us want to be doing Rockstar work, 35% want to be doing builder work, and only 9% want to be doing janitor work. Not surprising. So I wanted to dig into this a little more in my survey, because I thought I knew the kind of work people were probably doing. So I asked people their titles. And some of the results surprised me, but some of them didn't. For example, 70.9% of the people doing Rockstar work identify as developers. That makes sense. That's not a surprise to me. I hear from time to time that developers make new things, so good job. You're doing that. And 58% of the people doing janitor work are in ops. Again, not a surprise. We know this story. Developer makes new things. Ops fix it when it breaks. This is just, we got this. We know this. However, 54.4% of builders are devs. I would not have expected that at all. I thought there'd be more of like an ops side or a QA perhaps. But no, 54% of the people actually hardening code and making it more performant are developers. However, 55% of people who want to be builders are ops. Okay, that makes a little more sense to me. So 70% of people doing Rockstar work are devs, and 54% of people doing builder work are devs. But the 58% that are the ops people doing janitor work, they want to be doing builder work. I get that. I understand that. It's a little surprising with the devs being builders, but I understand this spray of things. I also asked one last question about how people thought work distribution was across their teams versus their companies, whether or not they thought that was fair. So on people's teams, 26% thought that work distribution was unfair, which is actually pretty good, because that means that 74% of us are fine with it. We're sitting around and we're looking around and we're saying, no, this is good. I think that I'm being treated fairly according to everyone else on my team. This feels right. And that's not bad at all, 74%. That's a pretty good number. However, across the company, 49% of us said that work distribution was unfair. About half of us are sitting there going, why does that team get all the cool shit? That's not fair. I don't want to be here anymore. I'm sick of getting paged. So there's some unrest. There's some unhappiness. Some jimmies are getting rustled. People aren't happy with the work they're doing and they want to be doing different work. And companies understand this. They recognize this and they've been trying to fix it. But the ways that they've been trying to fix it aren't really working out. One thing that companies try to do is they try to focus on reliability. They say, okay, all right, we're always making new things and throwing them out there, but now we're gonna focus on being reliable and make that a first-class citizen. But the problem is that companies think that reliability means just never changing anything ever. And so they go, no new things, we're just gonna focus on making the things we made already better. And then 2 quarters later, the finance department is like, so this is cute, but we're actually a company making things to make money, so you're gonna stop that now. And the company goes, oh, yep, right, good plan. Okay, everyone, we are done with the reliability thing. We're reliable forever now. Congratulations, pass out the party hats. Now make new things. Also, we're behind schedule. And so everything goes back to the status quo. Another thing companies try to do is they try to rotate responsibilities across teams. They say, all right, we have team A, we have team B, we have team C, and this time team A will get to make the new feature. And the next time team B will, and the next time team C will. But eventually someone, most likely wearing a suit, looks at a spreadsheet and goes, but this team is better at this kind of work, so why aren't they just doing that all the time? And then we go back to the status quo. So where do we go from here? People aren't happy with the kind of work they're doing. People want to change the kind of work they're doing. Half of us think that work distribution is unfair. Where do we go? Well, we obviously go to the expert on this problem, Ursula Le Guin. Now, for those of you who don't know, Ursula Le Guin is a famous science fiction, fantasy, and literary author. She actually lives in Portland, where I live. I went and saw her give a reading one time, and she came into this big bookstore. There's like hundreds of people waiting for her. And she's this very petite, regal woman. And she came up behind the podium, and she put her book on it. She had to like have a step stool, and she put her book on it, and she opened to the page she was going to read from, and everyone's like, oh, Ursula Le Guin's going to read to us. And she looks up, and she goes, I hope this is over fast, because Downton Abbey's on. And I was like, oh, Ursula Le Guin, that's all I needed. Please go to the Downton Abbey. You don't have to say a single word. But anyway, Ursula Le Guin, fantastic writer. And in 1969, she came out with a book called The Left Hand of Darkness, which some of you might be familiar with. In The Left Hand of Darkness, and sometime in the future on another planet, this race of genetically modified humans spend the vast majority of their lives with no identifiable sexual characteristics, no male or female characteristics, except one time per month, they enter a state called Kemmer, where they develop sexual characteristics and they mate. But the thing is, No one knows if they're going to become a male or a female each month. It changes all the time. It's a crapshoot. Which means that there are no physiological habits established, and the mother of several children may be the father of several more. And therefore, burden and privilege are shared out pretty equally, and everybody has the same risk to run or choice to make. I mean, think about it. If anyone could be a mother or a father, depending on the month, the whole society must share the potential burdens of paternity and maternity. And so everyone lifts up those burdens to make it easy for everyone, because it could affect you next month. Everyone else's problems are your problems, and so everyone works to make those things better. So how can we apply this to our current situation? Well, we can have everyone do everything. Now you might think, what? Excuse me? Do you know who I am? I lead a gigantic, global, technical company. We have hundreds of thousands of people. We have been here for decades. Decades, I tell you. We are extremely specialized. I am not having everyone do everything. That would be absolute chaos. I don't want my developers touching my operators' chef code. They don't even know what chef is. They thought someone was going to come in and fix them a fancy meal. And I absolutely do not want my ops people touching my developers' code, because all they do is make fun of Ruby and it hurts my feelings. I don't want that. Absolutely not. Take your mushy feelings off back to DevOps Days Crazy Town, because we are not doing that. Well, that's not what this is. But I don't want devs and ops and QA to all go into each other's things. That's not what this is. But on each team, there is the opportunity to do Rockstar, Builder, and Janitor work. And everyone should have the ability to do that. And when you do that, 3 awesome things happen. First, we remove the blinders. Remember when everyone was just kind of focused on their slice of the kingdom? Well, now those blinders are gone. And they have to look up and they're like, oh, this is my slice of pie. But all of the other slices are like super moldy. And I'm going to have to eat those pieces of pie. Oh, man. Which means that they build better. They build more defensively. They build more flexible and modular code bases, because down the line, they're going to have to be the one to refactor it. They're going to have to support those code bases. And so they're going to build it better because they know they're going to have to fix it in the future, and they want to fix it fast. And it also allows you to foster new skills. And this is good on the entire spectrum of engineer experience. If you have a junior engineer who's been with you for maybe a year, after you sit them down for their performance review and you say, well, what would you like to do with your career? They don't know. They've been doing one thing for a year. They probably got stuck with Shauna because no one else wanted to do a network engineer with her, okay? That's all they know. They might hate tech. They might be looking for an exit, go be a seamstress. Guess what they think this tech is? You need to give them the opportunity to try different things so they can grow their career and know where they want to take it. And as for seniors and leads and technical leads, you can't just have them focus and be really good at one slice of the TCP handshake in the Linux kernel, okay? Like, there's a demand for it for about 2 people, and that's it. You want them to be both broad and deep in your architecture so that they can build better systems and help bring other engineers up because they understand how it all fits together. And they'll be more comfortable in their career, and they'll be happier in their job. So how do we do this? We rotate. We rotate the roles on a team. Say, like a week in each role. And you might say, I need more than a week to ship a new thing. Okay, fine. You can make it flexible. But for example, let's say you have a team of 4 engineers. They spend 1 week doing janitor work, 1 week doing builder work, and 2 weeks doing Rockstar work. And this works out pretty well. So the week that they're a janitor, they're also on call because everyone's on call, right? Everyone's on call. So they're on call when they're a janitor, which means that they're getting paged for broken things, they're working with your support team, and they're band-aiding that stuff and identifying it and making tickets. And then the next week when they're a builder, they are fixing the things that broke the previous week. Empower your engineers to never get paged for the same thing twice, and they will take care of it for you. Give them that power. And then afterwards, once they've done their tour of duty, they get to go be a rock star and build new things. And this time they will build them more defensively and more flexible because they're going to be supporting them when that pager comes around again. And if you look at that proposed state, where you have 50% of your time being rock star, 25% being a builder, 25% being a janitor, it kind of looks like the preferred state where people wanted to be. Now, I know, yeah, okay, there's a big difference between 25% janitor work and 9% janitor work. I'm on it. But you have to start somewhere. You have to start burning that down. And let me tell you something. If you find that you have more janitor and builder work than one engineer can take care of in 1 week, then you, my friend, have technical debt, and you need to deal with that. You need to have all of your engineers swarming on those issues and making them better for the rest of the team. And if you're saying, but what about my velocity? What about my vroom vroom? I gotta go fast, I gotta ship things. Do you know what business is? I gotta make that money. Well, things tend to go a lot faster when they're not on fire. And that janitor work, those janitor tasks stacking up behind you, and that builder work that you haven't been appreciating, that's your fire, and that's gonna make you go slower. So yeah, you need to address it. I'd say, all right, fine, but I can't just walk into a meeting with a spreadsheet and be like, here's a number that represents technical debt, we're gonna fix that. Actually, you can. A white paper came out in 2014 called A Simulation Study of Practical Methods for Technical Debt Management and Agile Software Development, just rolls off the tongue. And they have formulas in there for how you can represent technical debt. This is an adapted formula by Gregor Wikstrand, and you can use this to actually get cold hard data to represent to your executive team to talk about how you can burn down technical debt. And if that's still too theoretical for you, please consider Telefonica. Telefonica is one of the largest IT and telecommunications companies, at least in Spain, if not Europe. And in 2013, they had a huge amount of financial debt. And their CIO decided to address this by fixing their technical debt. And in 2013 alone, they decommissioned over 1,100 applications. And then in the next 3 years, they reduced the systems they used from 7,000 to 4,200. And the CIO introduced new policies such as using off-the-shelf third-party solutions instead of having their own engineers build them in-house, which meant that their engineers could then make things that were specific to the company's needs instead of reinventing the wheel. And in that time, at the end of it, they had reduced their financial debt by 14 billion euros by addressing technical debt. This is real. This is something you can bring to your meeting with the muckety-mucks and be like, look, maybe we should actually fix our paging system, please. Okay, so you might think, Alice, all right, you've kind of convinced me. You're cute. How do I start? Where do I start? Where do I try to do this thing? Well, you start with your ops team. You roll it out to your ops team first. Your ops team has been in the guts of your system for years, mostly being janitors, and they want to be builders. And those are arguably the two harder skills to learn, because Hacker News teaches us how to be a rock star every day, but not many people talk about how to be proper builders and janitors. But your ops team has an idea. It's just they've been firefighting so much that they haven't been able to actually build anything new or come up for air. They're just patching your systems again and again and getting burnt out. So give them the ability to make new things. Now you might say, wait a minute. Ops has more garbage than anyone. Heck no. They should be janitors 24/7. I'm not giving them time to build new things. Look at all the garbage they're dealing with. Their stuff is always breaking. Heck no, they can't be rock stars. I'm only going to say this once. Don't punish your ops team for your dev team's shitty code. Everything that ops is dealing with, because it's broken, your developers put there. Okay? Turns out jQuery isn't that scalable. And now the ops team is dealing with it time and time again because some other developer threw it over the wall and said, my piece of pie is perfect. I don't want to deal with your piece. So no, you are letting your ops teams be rock stars now and first. And what you do is you get your ops team in a room and you ask them 3 questions. You say, what are you worried about? What do you think is going to break at any second? What is only running because you wake up every morning and run a bash script while you check your email? What are you worried about? That's how you get your janitor tasks. And then you say, what could we do better? What did we roll out at 80% done and it has no documentation or anything? And we're like, good enough, there will be a version 2, and version 2 was supposed to come 3 years ago and it didn't. That's your builder tasks. And then you ask, what do you want to add? What do you wish you could tell your friends you were doing here? What interests you? Those are your Rockstar tasks. You make tickets. You assign them initially to the people who suggested it because they probably have the most passion and interest in it, but make sure that it's not just like lumped together. Make sure they're pairing with people and spreading it out, and you start your rotation there. Now you may think, but if my ops team is suddenly working on Rockstar tasks, won't that put pressure on other teams upstream? Good. I hope it does. I hope that developers start to feel that pain. And when they say, hey, where are my servers, ops person? The ops person's like, I'm a rock star this week. I'm building new things. You better talk to the one person who's actually dealing with servers because we have other things going on now. They need to feel that pressure. Devs need to know that there's a new sheriff in town and a new process is coming and it's going to come for them next. They need to understand that ops people are more than just their Sherpas, that they build new things. And you might say, okay, I understand maybe how operators can be developers or make new things, but developers can't do ops tasks. They don't even have access to our infrastructure. They can't be janitors. They can't be builders. They don't have the AWS account. Yeah, that might be true for some orgs, but I assure you that there is still plenty to do at home when it comes to developer, janitorial, and builder tasks. I think it's kind of obvious what a rockstar might look up like on a dev team, but let's still go over it. A rockstar is someone who would roll out a new feature or a tool and research new projects and also demo new things. And this is really good for a junior person. I mean, a junior person you hired because they're smart, right? And if you say, hey, our team is having this problem, why don't you go research it and come back with a solution and present it to us? That's really empowering for a junior engineer. They want to stay on and work on those systems more. As for builder tasks on a dev team, they need to improve your testing. They need to have a bunch of test coverage. They need to know reliability, and they need to understand greater impact. If you're going to be retiring part of your code, you need to know who that's going to impact. And that's going to be a builder. That's going to be a builder doing that research and understanding how your dependencies affect other teams. Janitor tasks, bug fixes, refactoring. All those things that your support team has been dealing with and you haven't had the time to deal with, that's your janitor. Also just general cleanups. You know that section of your code base where there's a comment that's like, I don't think this is being used anymore, but I'm afraid to find out. That's what the janitor is going to be dealing with during the rotation. And once again, you get them in a room, you ask them, what are you worried about? What did we push out too quickly on a deadline? What are we actually using a beta library for, but we're not actually calling a beta product? Those are your janitor tasks. What could we do better? Could we refactor something? Can we dry it up a bit? Can we use better code practices, better reliability practices? Those are your builder tasks. And what do you want to add? In addition to the roadmap, or maybe working within the roadmap, what do you want to see rolled out? Is there a new language that you think could be better for our projects, and why? Those are your Rockstar tasks. Make up tickets, divide them up, give them to your developers, and start that rotation. And if you're thinking, well, having developers do builder and janitorial tasks is a little demeaning. First of all, that's crappy. Second of all, they're already doing it. Remember, only 54% of the builders are actually developers. They're just not being recognized. They don't have that visibility, but they are already doing that work. Help them do it better. Because this is our current state of things, and it's not where people want to be. So in this talk, we define the roles. We talked about that curious rock star and that industrious builder and that very small but powerful janitor. And we talked about the roles that people do within that and how they want to do better. We examined the current environment. We talked about how this is the current state of things with a large amount of people doing rock star work, not enough people doing builder work, and too many people doing janitor work. And we talked about how people actually want to be more here with a little more Rockstar work, a lot more builder work, and a lot less janitor work. We talked about how we can do things a better way with our good friend Ursula Le Guin and the left hand of darkness and having everyone do everything. Because we want to get to this future state where everyone is sharing the same burdens and everyone has the same privilege and risks to run. And so everyone is benefiting from a more stable and modular code base and system plan. Thank you very much. It says I have 4 minutes. I don't know if that's enough time for questions. If we don't have enough time for questions here, I'll be outside wandering around. I'm kind of hard to miss. And you can question me on Twitter. I'm currently under my professional name, Malice Ghoulpuss. So just look me up there. And you have been an absolute pleasure to speak to. I hope you enjoy the rest of DockerCon Europe. Thank you very much.